Welcome everybody, thanks for making the time. This webinar is going to cover SMSF Sorted 2.0, which is our latest release. We've added a significant amount of features in this release, particularly aimed at administrators and firms that do a lot of outsourcing, with a big focus on workflow. Today I'm going to take you through a deep dive of the product in a demo. But before I get started, I'll just give you a quick update and background into Cloudoffis. So to start with, as a bit of a background, Cloudoffis have been around since 2017, and we launched with a audit automation product, and then more recently, towards the end of last year, we released this product, SMSF Sorted. We've now got two best of breed products specifically in the SMSF space. The whole aim for the company is to continually to develop best in breed technology to make accountants' lives easier. At the moment, we're specifically in the SMSF space, and we've been growing very, very rapidly, particularly SMSF Sorted in its first year in operation, which is really exciting. Now, before I go into any further product updates, we did want to update you guys on a new staff member. So Kevin Cooper has started as the Customer Success Manager for SMSF Sorted. For those of you that have had anything to do with class in the last decade, you're probably familiar with Kevin. He's headed up the support teams. More recently, he's been in the product area of the business, and we're really excited to have him on board. He brings a wealth of knowledge in the SMSF space over 20 years. Yeah, the feedback's been fantastic for those of you that have already spoken to Kevin in his new capacity in Cloudoffis. Have been giving us great feedback from having known him at his time with class. So welcome, Kevin, and we're excited to have you on board. Okay, so back into the product, SMSF Sorted 2.0. There's 5 key areas that the product is focusing on. So it's really far more than just a Workpaper module. Okay, so Workpaper automation is most certainly a key element of that. And the aim is to just reduce any manual task or any tasks that can be automated through the use of the technology, right? Our motto is effectively let the machines do it where possible. The next part is document management. And we've got an intelligent document management system in that we use a bookmarking system to link bookmarks. So a bookmark could be an area of a page of a PDF. So for example, a area of a source document that could be the closing balance of a statement. And you are allowed to bookmark that figure to an account. So rather than putting a PDF into a folder in the traditional sense, the simple act of filing a document away is actually helping you to build out your work papers. And we've also got some automated search functionality, which we'll show you. The third is workflow. So particularly for firms that have got quite a number of funds, we've substantially built out our workflow capability, which now includes external as well as internal. So if you've got, for example, customers that you're doing work for, so accounting or financial planner type customers that you're doing compliance for, we've now got customer portals that you can build out, connect your data, documents, approval processes, queries, and all that sort of thing as well. And that's in addition to the current linkage to our Cloudoffis Auditor software. Okay, so we've really filled out that complete external workflow to complement the internal workflow that we've had since the beginning. And just finally, custom integrations. So we're very conscious that many of you will have some unique workflows and custom workflows to your own firm, whether that be using proprietary software or a document management system that the wider accounting business is using. And you've got to also use that as part of the SMSF team. SMSF Sorted has been built to be able to fit into your workflow, no matter what that is. So if we need to look at integrations into document management systems, workflow tools, billing systems, your own customer portals, even to your auditor system, we can look at connecting that in to streamline that process. And this year we've done quite a few custom integrations to help our clients do that. Okay, so the 3 focuses of the technology are automation, integration, and being collaborative. So automation includes analyzing the data that we get from multiple sources, automating some compliance checks if possible, and then moving data across various stakeholders, whether that's internally or externally to your customers and your auditors. Excuse me. Integration is key. So we've got an integration currently into BGL 360 and Class, our audit software, and as well as those custom integrations that I mentioned before. And then just finally, being collaborative and having all of the various features work in context. So what that means is, you've got your lead schedule, you've got all your documents, you've got your queries, you've got your workflow system. All of those elements in Cloudoffis all work together as one. Okay, so you're not having to use disparate systems, or you're not having to update various different systems with data or statuses. For example, your documents linked to your lead schedule, your queries are linked to the lead schedule, so or your reviewer or your customer or your auditor knows exactly what the query's about. And that's a really important structure that we've really focused on at Cloudoffis. So where we operate, Cloudoffis SMSF Sorted is administrator and accounting software. Then we've also got Cloudoffis Audit Automation, which is our audit software. The way that we've built that out is we've integrated all along that workflow. So whatever your situation is, we've got that covered and completely automated. Even if your auditor, for instance, does not even use Cloudoffis, we've got that covered as well. The way that looks in a bit more detail, for example, for an SMS administrator, so this is someone with a large SMSF compliance book. If we look over to the left here, we've got some various workflows. So the first thing that we can allow you to do is connect to your accounting and FP customers. So that enables everybody to use the one portal for all communications, data, transfer, documents, approvals, requests of rework, all of those back and forths are all on the one single system to make life really, really, really easy. Okay. Managing your workflow for compliance only, or compliance and audit together. So it really doesn't matter if you as the administrator have got the relationship with the auditor on behalf of the customer, or your customer deals directly. So with the way that we've structured our portals, you or the customer can then connect with the auditor after that work's done and after that external workflow of approvals is completed. Okay. Similarly with accounting firms, obviously, if you're a firm that's doing internal jobs, your concerns are more around managing internal staff. You could possibly be using an outsourcer for some of your work. Then once you've done the work and managed your internal workflows and you're ready to send that over to the auditor, we've got the ability to help you then connect to your auditors, both Cloudoffis or not. All right, and just finally, just to cover off our capabilities and integration. So again, I really want to reiterate, we're not here necessarily to replace everything in your current tech stack. Now, if we can, that's fantastic, but we're conscious that you might have some software that for one reason or another you can't replace. So we definitely have the capability to integrate into them. So whether it's, again, a DMS or a workflow system or anything else that you need us to talk to make your life easier, let us know, and then we can scope that out as a separate body of work. But certainly what you see or are about to see as far as the demo is concerned is what's off the shelf. But if there's anything else that you need, we're very, very flexible, and we've got a lot of capability in development, and we can certainly look at that on a case-by-case basis. Now, I'm going to kick into the demo. What you can see here is the home screen that everybody logs into as a starting point. And it's really a dashboard to give you an overview of all the jobs by status. So you've got everything from being assigned into work in progress, all through your review points and levels, all the way through to completed. Okay. You've then got your jobs in progress. So if you're assigned a job as the preparer or the manager, for instance, you'll see all of those here. You've got a status tracker, you've got a completion tracker there. At the bottom of the screen here, you've got a summary then of your internal queries and external queries. So internal is anybody that's within your own business or your own team, okay? And then external is any of your external customers that you might have built a portal for. So again, if you're an administrator, your accounting or financial planner customers, or it could be your Cloudoffis auditor, okay? That's raised some queries there for you. Now, again, the queries have got the full context. So if you've got loads and loads of funds and loads of queries per fund, you could have thousands of queries flying around the business at any one point. Here you've got the fund, the year, the heading, and a complete context summary that you're able to just sort of go straight in, know exactly what part of the job and what job that's for, and answer those queries in the context of the particular job. To start with, we need to get some client data into the platform. Okay, so that's really easy. Simply go up to Manage Client, then Import Client. You can go to Class or BGL. Once you log in with your credentials, you can then choose the funds that you want to import, and then we'll form those jobs in this particular list here in Manage Clients. Now, to do a bit of a data check at this point in time, so we check if the ABN, the TFN, GST status, and then the dates of birth are available on that particular fund. The dates of birth are actually quite important because we run some automated compliance checks and we use the date of birth in some of those calculations in our observation section, which you'll see in a moment. Now, from a workflow perspective, we just need to create a specific job, which we do by financial year. Okay, just going to use an older one. We can then map to either ourselves. So my internal business is administrator firm, okay, and I'm Clint Administrator. But I've got two external customers, so I'm doing work for SMSF Sorted Proprietary Limited or Customer Proprietary Limited. So for this example, this is going to be an external job. So I'm going to choose my customer's name, put myself there as the preparer. Rachel's my manager, and she's going to also be doing the reviewing. And I create that job. Now, all we've done at this point in time is input the basic fund information from Class or BGL, and we've built out a folder structure to set up the document management system. Okay, so if we hop into the document management system in the workpaper hierarchy here, these are the chart of accounts for that specific job. So if I go into assets, investments, shares and listed companies, I've got a list of the couple of accounts there, right? So that happens on every single fund automatically, okay? Now, because this is an external job and I chose my external customer, in the portal that I've created for them, okay, which actually I'll show you how you do that now. So up in the admin section here, if we go to connect, you've got accounting firm or audit firm. Now, you'd obviously do this at the start, but you'd go connect to accounting firm, put in their ABN, put in their email. They'll then get an email to then set up their free customer portal that's connected to you. And then when you select that particular company, when you're setting up the job, then that portal will be then linked to this job. Assigned under SMSF Sorted as the company name, okay? And bearing in mind, we haven't imported the lead schedule or anything like that. All we've done so far is set up the system as a document management system, and that's it, okay? So if I pop into my customer portal now, so this is my customer portal for SMSF Sorted Proprietary Limited. I'll go into open. So for that job, Cloud 5 2017, the administrator set this up for me, and I've got access to upload documents. Okay, so obviously your customer oftentimes will actually have the relationship with the trustee, and they might be getting sent all the docs, so they could be the registered address, for instance. So in the portal you've created, they've got the opportunity now to send you over the docs through the portal. I've just uploaded all of those. Got a bit of a tracker here, the success and failure, so they're all good. I'll close. Right, so they're all been successfully uploaded. I can now select them and then notify administrator, which now sends an email over to the administrator, as well as getting the docs over, okay? So basically for the 12 months up until the job is ready for end of year, the customer portal's only really used as a document management connected portal, so the documents can flow between the two. So now that that's been sent over, I can go and view DMS, and now I've got all these documents here. Okay. Now, throughout the year, when you do get a document, okay, you might have this Macquarie term deposit statement that comes in. As I mentioned, we use a bookmarking system. So if you grab the bookmark there, and you bookmark the area of the page that you want to reference, scroll down to find the account. So again, this is the chart of accounts for the fund. Save. That now moves that document out of the unsorted folder into the folder hierarchy, and it saves that bookmark in that particular place. So next time you open that bookmark, it's going to take you exactly to where you want to see on the page. Okay, so all we're doing here is replacing the current process that you've got in just putting a document somewhere. So you could be using your current folder system on your computer drive, you could be using a cloud-based DMS, or wherever your documents are going. Put them now into SMSF Sorted, and then use Sorted to file them away. All right. So now, let's just say for the 12 months, I've been putting all my documents into those particular folders, and now I'm ready to actually import from class. Okay. So now what we're doing, using class as the example here. So I've done my period update and everything, all my financials have been finalized. Okay, so now we're importing all of those finalized data, and we're actually going through a lot of the data that we're getting in and running some compliance checks. We're bringing in documentation and we're building out a dashboard. Okay, and that dashboard, okay, so here's the dashboard that we've built out once we have imported the data. Okay, now it's simply designed here to give you a bit of a snapshot at your end of year of everything that you need to know. So we've got some basic fund information up the top here. In the middle, there's some controls to be able to re-import. Really important. So during your workflow, internal approvals, external approvals, even over to your auditor, if anything ever needs to be changed in class or BGL, you could go and update that data, re-import, and if you choose overwrite, we'll only take in the changes and then we'll track the delta. Okay, so we've got some icons here, N for new, U for updated, D for deleted. We'll track those in the lead schedule, which I'll show you in a moment, so you know exactly what's changed. And so you'll never ever lose your work effectively, even if you've got to make some slight adjustments anywhere along your workflow. Okay, you've then got your relationship, so who's working internally on the job. You've got, if it's an external customer, they're listed down here. You've got a summary of your document management system, so you can easily see, for example, that you've still got 42 docs in unsorted that you haven't actually bookmarked or referenced yet. You've got a summary of your queries and review points down the bottom here. But the two areas where the preparer is going to spend most time processing the fund are in your observations and then the financial position and operating statement. Your observations are those automated checks that we do on each fund, and I'll get to those in a moment. I'm just going to start here in the financial position and operating statement. So all this data in this page is, again, completely and automatically built out from the data that we get from your administration software. You've got a list of the accounts, the quantities, current year, prior year, change, and then you've got some workflow tools to mark off that you've done the preparing, or if your reviewers in here, they can mark off that they've done the reviewing. Now you'll notice that there's some icons here that are lit up. So these are actually documents that are now linked to these lead schedule items. So you'll remember that I bookmarked the Macquarie term deposit and a document for the property as well. So the simple act, as I mentioned before, of filing a document away and bookmarking it now actually completes your end of year process at the same time. Okay, so your documents are in context of your lead schedule. Okay, we also import some class reports specifically to class at this stage. So in the investments header, we've automatically pulled in the investment movement summary in the investment summary and bookmarked them to the heading section where they belong. So that's there for you for easy referencing. You can make comments here or any highlights on the document that then get saved on the PDF. Okay, so if you're the type of firm that does get the docs throughout the year, when you come in here, all of these docs will all already be linked. Okay, I know many of you mainly process at the end, which is obviously going to start to change this year. But if you still use the end of the year mainly to process everything, then you can upload all of your docs, similar to what we did before, or your customer can send them through, and then you process the OCR, which I don't think we covered. I might just pop back into that. So we've got the ability to process OCR. OCR is optical character recognition. So what we're doing is turning content in the documents to structured searchable data. And that's going to be used for our referencing, which I'll show in a sec. So when the document comes in and it's got this file icon, the software was able to read the data automatically. Okay, so they're all good. And that's usually going to be computer generated statements that you've been sent via email. If, for example, you've scanned a document in that you've received physically, we often get this little icon here, and that just means we haven't been able to read it straight away. We've got to process this extra OCR process, optical character recognition, to make sure that it is readable. Now, let's say that we've done all that, and we're back on our lead schedule. The other really, really quick way to reference your lead schedule is to simply search the closing balance from the account. So we've got NAB term deposit, we've got the current account closing balance figure. If I search that, the program then looks for that figure, 400,000, in all of the PDFs that you've uploaded. Okay, so because we import those class reports, that figure's appeared in some of the relevant class reports, but I can see this bottom one here is my source document. So I'll open that up. That's highlighted the 400,000 there that we searched for, and then it will allow me to then bookmark it, and it knows exactly where to put it because I'm searching for it from the account already, and then I just save that. Okay, so whatever way you go about your referencing, simply saving documents throughout the year, or going through systematically and searching all the various figures. So I've got another one here, Platinum Asia Fund, for instance. I'll search that figure. Okay, excellent. And that's found that figure on this statement. Either way you do this, it's a really, really quick and automated way to manage your documents. It doesn't matter if you've got one big document, like, you know, a 100-page document with all the various PDFs, or if they're all independent. You don't have to split out docs. You don't have to combine docs. Because we're using bookmarking and bookmarking it directly to the account, you don't have to handle your PDFs in any other way, and it removes that end-of-year process to some degree. A few other tools that we've got in the software. So if you actually click on the account itself, you can see the transactions. And if you needed to search for any particular transaction, we'd reconcile and sum those up for you. Over on the right-hand side, so next to the documents, you've got the ability to leave another comment section here. So this is quite generic. This doesn't go anywhere. You can just write whatever you want in there. It's date stamped and user stamped. You've then got a link here, your observations. So in every part of the lead schedule, if there's a corresponding observation, we're going to give you a red flag or a green flag. So in investments, we've got a red flag here. So if we click on that, there's one observation. It's marked as a warning. And that's simply because we've checked the market data that we got from class and compared it to the ASX data, and there's a discrepancy. Okay, so we've just marked that as a red flag. Now, if you've done your checks and for whatever reason, if you think that's okay, then you've got the ability to mark that as okay and put your rationale there. Again, all time, date stamped, etc. And then that gets sent over to the good to go section with your comment, and you can mark off that you've prepared it, and same again for the reviewer. And then now that little red warning goes over to green in the lead schedule, so you know exactly what's happened. Again, we've got another one here, so that's cash at bank. We've got a red flag. If we open that up, Right, we found some contrabank entries in that particular area. You've also got the ability to raise queries for specific sections. So if there's an issue, if in this collectibles painting account, for instance, so there's no doc, let's just say, you can raise a query, assign it to whoever, your manager, your other colleagues, other staff, test, you can write whatever you want there, of course. We've got the full context, so whoever's getting this query is going to know exactly what fund, what area of the fund that it relates to. Okay, we can also notify somebody else if anybody needs to know. Then we've got the option to submit or submit an email. So if you submit an email, they get an email notification. If you submit, you could submit maybe 5 or 10 various different queries, and if you notify a signee at the end of all that, we'll group all the queries and send one email notification just to ensure that they're not bombarded with email notifications. Okay, so that's an internal query. What I can also do, because this is an external job, okay, so let's say, for example, that doc is missing and it wasn't in the software from what my accounting customer uploaded. I can raise an external query to the accounting firm and say whatever I need to say, so missing doc, and then submit an email, and then that sends an email in the query over to that external customer. Okay, now the final piece of the puzzle is review points. So we open that screen back up again. We've got those internal queries, external queries. Then we've got a review point. So these are really just a list for the preparer to leave notes to the reviewer in a far more static way. So rather than them getting an email notification, it's just, again, a list for the reviewer. Then the reviewer can come in and say, no action required, save it as a note for the accountant. Or if they want to do something with it, they can actually mark it as a note to the auditor. So I'm just going to say that, this is something that the auditor wants to know, and I can address that. Okay, so that's the queries, internal, external, and the review points. Okay, now I can either go one by one, as I showed you before, or I can say this whole section's been done. And again, that's time and date stamped. I'll get back out of that. So I've 100% prepared that particular section. Now I'm going to go over to the observations here from the dashboard. So you can access the observations from the lead schedule. So then it will give you the context of the account, or you can just see them in a list. Okay, so there's 17 at the moment. Starting good to go. So there's a few tax-driven ones, how effective taxes been allocated, preservation components for member above 65. And so again, these are driven out of the date of birth that we import at the very, very start. We run some of these calculations. So where these are good to go, we've actually done the checks and we're saying that they're fine. So this is the automation that should save you a lot of time. Rather than you doing these checks on every single fund, we're offering you a standardized way of doing these things and then really just highlighting what the red flags are. Okay, so this is a demo fund. We've got 9 warnings, but typically you're only going to get, maybe 2 or 3 kind of thing. A few more options here. We've got a pension limit check. Check if a work test is required. Contribution caps, etc. We saw the contrabank entries before. So again, anything in this warnings list can be marked as okay. You can raise queries. Again, you can raise a query back to the accountant if you wanted to ask them a question. So when I say accountant, again, that's your customer. If you're an administrator, and then you can submit that back to them. Okay, and from a workflow perspective, you might just want to get everything out of warnings, and it's either good to go or not applicable, and then mark them off all as okay, as being prepared. All right, So from a preparation standpoint, that's really it, right? You've got the ability to re-import wherever you need to. You've got your document summary. You go through your lead schedule and all the context of your queries, documents, and observations. You've got a list of your observations and queries on other parts of your dashboard as well. But if you're happy with that as the preparer, you can now mark this particular job as ready for review. Now this starts the internal review process by sending an automated email over to whoever's listed as the reviewer. So in this instance, it's Rachel Reviewer. Okay, so if I log in as Rachel Reviewer, so now I've changed my portal, I'm Rachel up here. Any queries, I'll just refresh this. Yeah, here we go. So here's one of the queries that were raised. Okay, again, internal queries. So this is my internal staff from Clint. I've then also got any queries from my customers or auditors down here. And then now I know that this job is ready for review because of that email. I can hop straight into ready for review and have a look at the job that Clint has here and left for me. Okay. Now I can go into my queries internal. I can view my review points. I can go into the lead schedule and I can again mark everything off, or I can go into this. So Clint's just put some test query together there for me, so I could just reply to that as the reviewer. And it forms like a text message type conversation, so you've got a full history of what's been going on. Can attach documents and all that sort of thing. But if everything's okay with that and I've reviewed that comment, I can resolve that as a reviewer. And then that goes over to my closed queries now. Okay, so we keep a track of all open, closed queries. Go back to the dashboard. Now, I've reviewed that. I've marked off everything that I need to from the reviewer standpoint, and I'm happy with that. So now I've got the ability to then send that out for a peer review to my external customer. So I can mark that as ready for peer review. All right. Now, for the second time, we're going back into the customers portal. So if I just go back to the home dashboard, their dashboard's a little bit different. There's only 4 stages for an external job, and they've got, all they can see is external queries there because that's all that really relates to them. Okay, so that job is now in finalization. So rather than just being able to upload docs, which is all I could do before, I've got the ability now to answer and view queries, and I've also got the ability to actually click on the job and look at this new review screen. Okay, so this is a read-only version of what you can see in your software. They've got the ability to, on the left here, go straight into the various queries. So they can reply to queries here. Okay, they've got over on the right-hand side the ability to review documents, queries, observations, all parts of the job. So if they wanted to have a look at the statement of financial position, for instance, they've got all the data here, documents. Now they can't do anything. They can't like untick that bookmark or anything like that. It is read-only, and it's just for them to give it a thumbs up or request a rework. Okay, so they've got the ability to tick each and every section and mark it off as reviewed. But let's just say the trial balance in this instance, there was something wrong with it, whatever it was. Instead of marking it off as peer review completed, I can actually just request a rework and say, redo this for whatever reason, submit. And then now this gets locked out from this portal on the customer side. And then if I refresh my page from your portal, this job's now back into work in progress, and it's got this reprocessing badge on it there. Okay, so once again, if it's class that needs to be updated, I can go in, override existing data. I'll actually show you what that looks like now in another job that I've had a re-import from. So this is now Cloud 2. Forgive me if I'm hopping around the place, but you'll see what I mean in a moment. So if you updated anything, that's where this little icon comes into play. So those icons that I mentioned to you before. So new, updated, and deleted. So there's 4 updates in this job after I've re-imported. If I have a look at what it was, so prior it was BHP Billiton Limited, now it's BHP Group Limited. So that was a name change. If there was a quantity or value change, it would show me there as well, along with any other new or deleted accounts. Okay, so back into WIP, back into Cloud 5, the job that they're working on. So again, if you did make any changes, you could go on, for example, cancel a bookmark, search for a different doc, grab that, re-bookmark it, conscious that this is not the right one for this particular example, but just showing you how you can delete the bookmark, re-bookmark anything else, and then reapply that to that same account. Changes are really, really easy. Once I've done the changes, go back through the process again, internally, ready for review, or send it straight back out to the customer. Okay, so I'm just trying to demonstrate here the back and forth and how easy it is in that approval process and requesting rework from your customer. Okay. So without going through that entire process again, let's just say that it's sent back out to the for peer review for my customer, and then they've marked it off as okay. So I'll show you that process. So if we go back here, refresh, they can change that as completed. Okay, and then now that's completed back in your software. Okay, now anytime they can generate a PDF version of their work papers from here. Right, so if they generate, they can actually choose what to include, i.e. queries and whatnot. So that might be determinable if you think anything in there is useful for your auditor. You can generate those work papers from the client side, or you can generate the work papers from your side of things. Okay. Now this is if for any reason you need to get it out of Cloudoffis, right? So this might mean if you're using an auditor that doesn't use Cloudoffis or anybody that prefers to look at a PDF, for instance, you can always get the PDF out. It's a completely linked file. So if I show you what it looks like once it's downloaded, open with is what I want. So that'll be your logo, of course, and then the fun detail there. In this instance, I chose to include some of the review points, and then we've got a fully referenced lead schedule. So if I then click on, say, that Commonwealth Bank account there, I can open that up. Now I've got some bookmarks in here. Rather than me scrolling through the 4 pages, I can just click on the bookmark option here. So all the work that you've done in the software, i.e. the bookmarks, any comments, actually remain on the PDF once you've pulled it out of the software. So you still don't lose any of that benefit, even by removing it from the software, I should say. Okay, now the other way of sending this over to your auditor is if you are indeed using a Cloudoffis auditor. Okay, so well, that's not quite true. If you want to connect to a non-Cloudoffis auditor, you can also do that, again, through that connection area that I showed you a moment ago. Right? You can connect to both accounting firms and audit firms for free. The audit software that the auditor will get, however, is a read-only. Okay, so there's a huge amount of automation in the audit software, which is a topic for another day. So you can either connect into an existing Cloudoffis subscriber or build them out a free portal. Okay. Now I'm not going to show you the audit software in detail, but I will show you how it works in the context of the compliance job. So now that I've marked this off as completed, I get a new button here that says Submit to Auditor. Okay, so I can then choose which auditor that I want to get that sent to. We've got one final check between Cloudoffis and Class or BGL to make sure that the data still matches up and nothing's changed. If there is a change, we've got a list of the discrepancies, and then you've got the opportunity to go back and sort that out. But once that's submitted over to the auditor, that will then create the job, which I'll show in a moment. And then as far as your tracking is concerned, back to your dashboard, into your manage jobs section here, you've got a submitted to auditor tab, which you can then track the stages that that's at, which then completes the tracking of your workflow in SMSF Sorted. Okay, so if we hop over into the audit software, now just choose this particular example. So the biggest benefit is any of those bookmark documents, any queries, any of the automated documents, for example, that came over from class, will automatically get built out in the dashboard of your auditor's software here. So if I have a look at the cash at bank section here, under the assets section, I've got those couple of class reports that automatically came across. I've got some queries that I rose. I've got my Macquarie bank statement that I bookmarked. Okay, and the query. So those are the ones that were marked as a note to the auditor. They automatically come across. Any permanent docs come across as well into the permanent document section. Okay, so effectively all the auditor has to do is really just do the checklist. Okay, so they're basically taking advantage of your work. And then if they've got any queries, they can just raise a new external query. If I say this is part of income, I'll just put test 2. Whoops, so that would be test 2, test 2. Publish, again, option to publish and publish an email. If I go back into my administrator software, that external query is now popped up for Cloud 3, test 2. Okay, so any queries that are raised by the auditor, you can reply. So another example was this missing document. So you can then just attach the document and reply. If the job's actually completed and you need to communicate with your auditor, you could just go into any part of any job and just say, raise a review point, add a review point. So this is after the fact. So this is once you've actually submitted it. So if you submit that review point after you've submitted and then mark it as a note to the auditor will then get that automatically or instantaneously. Okay. So that really just completes the whole approval process from both the internal, external side of the customers and your internal staff, as well as your auditor. And once again, if you've got any changes that you need to make on the job that's been sent over to audit, you can always re-import the lead schedule. And then when you mark this as completed, you've got a resubmit to auditor function. You can't select a different auditor because that's who you've already submitted it to. And then on the auditor side, they've got the opportunity then to re-import that data. And they've also got the opportunity to re-import that from class, or verify that with class, I should say. Okay. So that's really it. That entire workflow using an external job. The only way an internal job differs is that when you create it, you wouldn't select the external customer and there wouldn't be an external portal, and you just upload, I should say, the documents yourself and then just use that internal workflow. So whatever situation you're in, SMSF Sorted should have your workflow covered. Thank you very much for spending the time. Again, my name's Clint Esteville. I can be reached on clint@cloudoffis.com.au if you've got any further questions. Thank you.